Welcome back to the channel. I sincerely hope that as a viewer you have found the content of the Spiritually Conscious Soul 101 presentations interesting and useful. I spoke in my most recent viewing about how fear may be the downfall of consciousness evolutionary growth for many souls who may find themselves thinking of the potential problems that current and future events will bring for their peace of mind, for their living conditions or financial well-being. The threat of derailment by the powers that be will appear very real and tangible. However, as I said, these are really empty threats. They are there to make you fear for your life. But if you can remember who you really are and why you are on earth at this time, then the enemy of your soul will lose all its intent. The main reason for the attack, to make you fear what's coming, and thereby have none of your forthcoming fear to feed off. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about the totalitarian state of the current governmental powers and how they are desperate to hang on to power. I want to assure my viewers that this state of affairs is going to end badly for these entities, and that our life-directing power will be returned to us. These power-hungry authorities are going to face the consequences of their nefarious enslavement agenda, and it won't be subtle or benign. They know this, and they fear it. There will be a complete reversal of position, and the collective consciousness of humanity will enter the arena of governance with our extraterrestrial partners, and we will know that divine justice has been served. We as humanity will watch the sorry parade of these evil entities receiving that which they deserved. We will not gloat, nor will we smile at their fall, for we were never meant to seek revenge for the many injustices that these entities foisted on us. We will instead feel a sensation of overwhelming relief, an overshadowing of unconditional love that the one infinite Creator has for every fractal that has journeyed through the densities to this nexus in time. We will experience universal justice in its purest form. So allow me to share my insights on the current state of world governance and why it is totalitarian in nature. I will start by defining the word totalitarian with suitable synonyms that convey its real meaning. Authoritarian, autocratic, monolithic, oppressive, tyrannical, and undemocratic. All these synonyms are self-explanatory, so I'm not going to expand on them. How do these describe the world governing affairs? I'm going to use incidents from real-life sagas and news, most of which will never be covered by any mainstream outlets, because these are all under the totalitarian control. But who is running the show, you may ask? Who is behind all this control and enslavement agenda? The authoritarian government control of all the world's countries is bonded by the supply of money. And whoever controls the supply of money controls everything else, from a president down to the oversight of a country's resources, its military force, and its economy. Okay, so here are some real-life examples of the current governmental control. Countries united for the totalitarian control of the human race. If I appear somewhat cryptic in my explanations, please bear with me, as censorship on these details is on the increase. Keep your eyes on the inserts. Number 1. The dominant superpower is currently planning a new war against a lesser but rising economic powerhouse. Because this rising powerhouse, with its support of the BRICS nations initiative, pose a threat to the current world reserve currency. This war is slated to take place in 2027. You might recall my comments in a previous episode that I alluded to the dominant superpower's propensity for war. It's in their DNA. There is no talk about a peace initiative because peace is not what the dominant superpower wants. it must go to war in an attempt to keep the dollar as the world reserve currency. With the 9 wars that dominant superpower is currently involved with, what's the big sweat about adding one more? If the current reserve currency should be greatly reduced due to the floating and acceptance of a new currency, there would be less demand for the dominant superpower's assets, that is, government debt, and the dominant superpower will experience higher interest rates, which will make it more difficult to finance wars through the inflation of its currency. This in itself is perhaps an encouraging possibility. We have far too many wars. Point number 2. The World Health Organization is warning that at least one of several biolabs in Khartoum has been seized by Sudanese fighters, and that this poses a huge biological risk. We already know what the consequences could be, as the world has experienced one lab leak that cost the entire world several years of hardship under the current World Health dictatorship. Might the world be in for another round of the same thing with the vulnerability of these biolabs? Point 3. There has been a recent firing of a popular personality from Fox Media that has caused a reverberation throughout the entire world of journalism. This particular person, a no-nonsense whistleblower type character, never allowed his superiors to tell him what he could or could not say in his podcast presentations, and because of his indomitable character, attracted a huge following that greatly elevated Fox News ratings. It was fired recently without any prior notice. It is expected by some pundits that the media outlet will experience a huge drop in its future ratings due to the loss of this personality, and that it might struggle in the long term to remain viable against its opposition outlets. It is also rumored that the huge $9 trillion asset risk management company BlackRock has taken up an involvement with Fox. Might this be to prop up a sagging platform? I guess time will tell. Number 4. We should not forget that CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, are also waiting in the wings to be rolled out as convenient systems of digital economic transactions. These will not be forced on citizens, but will eventually become the go-to means of doing any personal business. This is seen as a move to eventually observe all the transactions of private citizens and then impose certain buying and selling restrictions. In order to achieve this, the central banks will have to make provision for the availability of personal accounts, which no central bank has at this time. This will take some time to take hold, but it will eventually become a reality as a part of the Wicked Enslavement Forum's draconian agenda. Many, if not all, of these governments' implemented strategies have a unified dictatorial brand and are going to be used for much greater control of humanity's affairs. Only the elite will be exempt from the long-term effect of this plan, and it isn't difficult to spot its totalitarian nature. Well, that's all we have time for on this expose of Spiritually Conscious Soul 101. But before we close, please remember to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons below. Thank you for watching my channel. And be sure to catch up with the latest material on the next viewing of Spiritually Conscious Soul 101.